The signal. The monitoring station Alpha 7 hung silently in the void between stars, its crystalline sensors collecting data from thousands of developing worlds. Controller first sequence Vertal stretched his primary appendages, his iridescent scales reflecting the soft glow of holographic displays. For 300 cycles, he had monitored the progress of primitive species, cataloging their stumbling steps toward the stars. It was vital but monotonous work, until today. Anomaly detected in Sector 87 Beta. The station's AI announced, its voice a melodic hum. Origin. Sol system, third planet. Vertal's secondary eyes flickered with interest. The Sol system had been under observation for centuries, its dominant species showing promising but unremarkable development. Display analysis, he commanded. The holographic display expanded, showing a complex waveform that made Vertal's scales ripple with surprise. The signal was unlike anything in the consortium's extensive databases, not because it was advanced, but because it was elegant in its simplicity. Impossible, Vertal whispered. The signal appeared primitive at first glance, using basic quantum principles that most species discovered early in their development. But as he studied the pattern, he recognized something extraordinary. The humans weren't just using quantum communication. They were manipulating quantum fields with an efficiency that surpassed even the consortium's best technology. Vertal's appendages trembled as he initiated contact with the consortium council. Within moments, the station's chamber filled with the projected forms of the council's 7 members, their diverse physiologies a testament to the consortium's inclusivity. Explain this urgency, Controller, High Counselor 6 demanded, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns of authority. Honored Council, I have detected an anomaly from Sol 3 that challenges our understanding of technological progression. Vertal transmitted the signal data. The humans have developed quantum manipulation techniques that operate on principles we haven't considered. The council members studied the data in silence. It was Counselor Nem, the eldest among them, who spoke first. This can't be correct. Our models show humans are at least 3 centuries from achieving quantum mastery. The models are wrong, Vertal stated firmly. Look at the signal structure. They're not forcing quantum states like we do. They're persuading them. The energy efficiency is orders of magnitude better than our methods. The chamber erupted in debate. The consortium had guided countless species toward technological advancement, following well-established patterns of development. But this was different. How long have they had this capability? Counselor Zix demanded. Vertal's analysis programs raced through historical data. That's another anomaly, Honored Council. I'm finding traces of similar signals dating back decades, but they were so subtle our systems categorized them as background noise. They've been developing this technology in plain sight, while we dismissed them as primitive. The implication sent shockwaves through the council. The humans hadn't just made a technological leap. They had done it without following the consortium's expected path of development. They had found their own way. This must be contained, Counselor Rem declared, their energy form pulsing with concern. If other developing species learn of this. With respect, Vertal interrupted, knowing he risked much by doing so. I don't believe containment is possible. The humans have achieved this without our guidance or knowledge. They've likely developed other technologies we haven't detected. The council chamber fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. For millennia, the consortium had believed they understood the path of technological progress. They had classified and categorized species based on their adherence to this path. But humans had just proved them wrong. We need more information, High Counselor Zix decided. Controller, you will lead a detailed analysis of all human communications. Find out what else they've been hiding. As the council members' projections faded, Vertal turned back to his instruments with new purpose. But as he began his analysis, another signal caught his attention. This one was different. A simple radio transmission carrying what appeared to be entertainment content. He almost dismissed it until his translation matrix decoded the words. And now, Back to quantum mechanics for kids, where we learn how to make friends with the building blocks of reality. Vertol's scales shifted to a pale shade of shock. The humans weren't just developing this technology, they were teaching it to their children. As he dived deeper into their public broadcasts, he found countless examples of what the consortium would consider advanced concepts being discussed casually, even playfully. In the following hours, Vertol discovered something that terrified and amazed him. Humans hadn't developed quantum manipulation as a military technology or a means of domination. They had approached it with curiosity, wonder, and even joy. Their entertainment, their art, their children's education, all of it reflected a society that had embraced quantum mechanics as naturally as they had embraced electricity. He found human music that used quantum harmonics not for communication, but for beauty. He found games that taught children about quantum entanglement through play. The humans had taken what the consortium saw as complex scientific principles and woven them into the fabric of their culture. As his shift ended, Vertol prepared his report for the council. But he kept one discovery to himself, a simple quantum signal that repeated every few minutes. When decoded, it contained only 2 words: "Welcome, friends." The humans knew they were being watched. They had known for years. And instead of hiding or preparing for war, they had been quietly waiting, developing their technology in their own unique way, and preparing to extend a hand in friendship. Vertol looked out at the distant star that warmed the human world. The consortium had always believed they would guide primitive species to the stars. Instead, humanity had found its own path, and might end up teaching the teachers a thing or two about innovation, curiosity, and the true meaning of progress. In his private log, Vertol recorded a simple note: "Today marks not the discovery of a new advanced civilization, but the realization that we have much to learn about what advanced truly means." The signal continued to pulse through space, carrying its message of quantum harmony. And somewhere on Earth, children played with quantum principles that had taken the consortium centuries to master, laughing as they did so. The revolution wouldn't come with warships and weapons. It had already arrived, hidden in plain sight, wrapped in humanity's endless capacity for wonder. The protocol. The grand archive of the consortium sprawled across an artificial moon, its data cores containing the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. Chief Archivist Lyron moved through its crystalline corridors with increasing agitation, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with stress. For the first time in her 300-year career, she was about to declare a protocol breach. Access historical records, species development patterns, cross-reference with Sol 3 anomalies, she commanded. The Archive's AI responded instantly, projecting a cascade of data through the chamber. Every species the consortium had encountered followed predictable patterns of technological development. Every species except humans. "Archivist, you requested notification of new Earth transmissions," the AI announced. "A significant data burst was detected 17 minutes ago." Lyron's patterns shifted to deep purple with concern. Display content. The projection changed, showing what appeared to be a public information broadcast. A human child stood before a class, giving what they called a science presentation. As Lyron watched, the young human casually explained concepts that had earned their discoverers multiple Nobel Prizes, complete with crude but accurate hand-drawn diagrams. "Pause playback," Lyron ordered, her patterns now strobing with alarm. "Cross-reference this presentation with consortium development protocols." Analysis complete, the AI responded. "The human child is describing 15 distinct technologies classified as Level 4 or higher. Current protocol requires minimum Level 3 civilization status for access to this information." But that wasn't what truly disturbed Lyron. It was the way the information was presented, not as groundbreaking discoveries, but as basic principles taught to children. The humans weren't following the carefully curated path of technological development. They were blazing their own trail, and worse, making it look easy. A priority communication interrupted her thoughts. High Counselor Zix's projection appeared, her crystalline form vibrating with urgency. Archivist, your report is overdue. Honored Counselor, the situation is more complex than initially assessed. Lyron began. The humans aren't merely developing advanced technology. They're fundamentally rewriting our understanding of how species progress. She transmitted the child's presentation. This is from what they call an elementary school. They're teaching principles we consider advanced science to children barely old enough to undergo basic education. Impossible, Six declared. No species can. With respect, Counselor, they already have. Lyran's patterns shifted to scholarly gold. I found evidence of similar educational practices dating back decades. The humans don't view quantum mechanics as advanced technology. To them, it's as fundamental as mathematics. The implications were staggering. The consortium's entire approach to guiding developing civilizations was based on carefully controlled technological progression. But humans had simply ignored the standard path. There's more, Lyron continued. We've detected their quantum communication signals, but look at their public internet. She projected a stream of social media posts, scientific papers, and casual discussions. They're openly sharing advanced research, debating theoretical principles on public forums. And, she paused, her patterns flickering with disbelief, making jokes about quantum entanglement. Jokes. Zix's crystalline form vibrated with confusion. Yes, Counselor. They call them quantum physics memes. They're treating concepts that our most advanced scientists struggle with as entertainment. The archive chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The consortium's protocols assumed that advanced technology required careful guidance and control. Humans had proven those protocols obsolete simply by approaching science with openness and enthusiasm. Show me their research institutions, Six commanded. Lyron hesitated. That's another anomaly, Counselor. While they have traditional research facilities, much of their innovation seems to come from unofficial sources. They have something called garage inventors and citizen scientists. Even their children participate in what they call science fairs. She projected more images. Home workshops where amateurs tinkered with quantum computers, community labs where grandparents and grandchildren collaborated on experiments, social media channels where teenagers shared their latest innovations. This defies all known development patterns, Six declared. How can they maintain stability with such chaos? I believe that's exactly why they're succeeding. Lyron replied. They're not trying to control knowledge. They're democratizing it. Their chaos, as you call it, is actually their strength. They're harnessing the creative potential of their entire species, not just a select few. As if to emphasize her point, another human transmission arrived. This time, it was a collaborative online project where people from around their world were working together to solve complex scientific problems. The participants ranged from renowned scientists to high school students, all contributing ideas and building on each other's work. Counselor, Lyron said softly, I believe we need to consider the possibility that our protocols are fundamentally flawed. The humans aren't breaking our rules. They're showing us that the rules themselves may be wrong. Zix's crystalline form dimmed slightly. What are you proposing, Archivist? We need to establish contact, but not as teachers or guides. We need to approach them as equals, perhaps even as students. They've developed a completely different paradigm of technological advancement, one that might be more effective than our own. The Council will never accept this, Zix warned. They may have to, Lyron replied, projecting one final piece of data. Because according to my analysis, the humans aren't just matching our level of technology. In many areas, they're already surpassing it. And they're doing it with a fraction of our resources, simply because they're willing to let everyone, from their youngest to their oldest, contribute to their advancement. The implications hung in the air like a challenge. The consortium had spent millennia perfecting their protocols for guiding species to the stars. Now they faced a choice: adapt to humanity's revolutionary approach, or risk becoming obsolete in a galaxy where even human children played with the building blocks of reality. The paradigm. The diplomatic vessel, Eternal Wisdom, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull reflecting the light of Earth's sun. Ambassador Prime Kethera stood on the observation deck, all four of her arms clasped behind her back in what her species considered a gesture of respect. Behind her, a team of the consortium's finest scientists and diplomats waited nervously. "They're hailing us," the ship's AI announced. "But not on any of our standard frequencies." Kethera's emerald skin rippled with amusement. "Of course not. Open their channel." The holographic display materialized, showing not a formal diplomatic chamber, but what appeared to be a casual meeting room. Children's artwork decorated the walls, and a potted plant sat on a windowsill. A human woman sat at a simple desk, wearing what Kethera's cultural database identified as a cardigan sweater. "Welcome to Sol," the woman said warmly. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's liaison for interstellar relations. We've been looking forward to meeting you properly." Kethera blinked all three of her eyes. This wasn't the primitive diplomatic protocol they'd expected. "I am Ambassador Prime Kethera of the Galactic Consortium. We come to evaluate our civilization and determine if we're ready for official contact," Dr. Chen finished with a gentle smile. "Though I suspect you've already realized we've been ready for quite some time." Behind Kethera, one of the scientists made a choking sound. The humans weren't supposed to know about the evaluation protocols. "Perhaps," Dr. Chen continued, "you'd like to see how we've been preparing. Your ship's quantum drive should be compatible with our orbital docking stations. We've made sure of that." Now it was Kethera's turn to be shocked. "You've studied our technology." "Oh yes," Dr. Chen replied, her eyes twinkling. "We've found your observation platforms quite fascinating. Your quantum crystalline computing architecture is particularly elegant, though we've taken a slightly different approach. Would you like to see?" Hours later, Kethera stood in what the humans called a community makerspace, watching as children and adults worked together on projects that should have been impossible for their level of development. A teenage girl was casually manipulating quantum states to create art, while an elderly man taught a group of youngsters how to program biotechnology using musical frequencies. "This is unprecedented," Professor Intel, the consortium's lead scientist, muttered as he scanned the facility. "Their technology doesn't follow any known development pattern. That's because we never saw technology as something to be developed in isolation," Dr. Chen explained. "For us, it's always been about integration and accessibility. Why create a quantum computer that only scientists can use when you can make one that helps children learn music?" She led them through more facilities. Public laboratories where citizens could conduct their own research, schools where complex physics was taught through games and art, and community centers where people of all ages collaborated on solving global challenges. "But how do you maintain control?" Kethera asked, "with such widespread access to advanced technology." "That's where you're still thinking in old paradigms," Dr. Chen interrupted gently. "We don't control technology. We embrace it. Our strength comes from making it part of our culture, not restricting it." She gestured to a nearby classroom where children were playing with what appeared to be simple blocks. "Those toys are actually quantum-entangled learning tools. They help develop an intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics before the kids even learn the math behind it." Professor Intel's instruments nearly overloaded as he scanned the toys. "These are more sophisticated than our research equipment, because we approach problems differently," Dr. Chen explained. "Your civilization developed quantum technology as a scientific pursuit. We developed it as a way to connect with each other and understand our universe. The sophistication came naturally once we stopped seeing it as something to be controlled and started seeing it as something to be shared." As they continued their tour, Kethera noticed something else. The humans weren't showing off their military capabilities or industrial might. Instead, they seemed almost eager to share their knowledge, asking as many questions as they answered. "There's something I don't understand," Kethera said finally. "You knew we were watching. You could have hidden your capabilities, prepared defenses. Why would we? Dr. Chen asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. We've been hoping to meet you for years. We've learned so much from studying your observation platforms, and we have so much we'd like to share in return. She led them to one final room, where a group of scientists was working on what appeared to be a new form of propulsion. This project, for example, combines your crystalline technology with our quantum harmonics. We think it could revolutionize space travel, but we'd love your input. Kathera stared at the project in amazement. The humans hadn't just matched consortium technology. They'd taken it in entirely new directions, finding applications that had never occurred to her people. I must ask, she said slowly, why share all this with us so freely? Dr. Chen's smile widened. Because that's who we are. We believe knowledge grows when it's shared. The real question is, are you ready to share with us? The revolution. The Consortium Central Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 1,000 worlds argued as reports from Earth continued to stream in. High Counselor Zix watched from her crystalline podium as centuries of carefully maintained order threatened to crumble. The humans have offered to share their educational methodologies with any world that wishes to implement them. A representative from the Proxima sector announced, causing another wave of heated debate. This is dangerous. Counselor Rem's energy form pulsed with agitation. Their approach to technology distribution goes against everything we've built. Perhaps that's precisely why we should consider it. A new voice cut through the chaos. All eyes turned to Professor Intel, who stood at the chamber center. After 3 months on Earth, the scientist's typically pristine scales now showed patterns that mimicked human casual wear, a small but visible sign of how deeply the contact had affected him. Display teaching comparison, Yintel commanded. The chamber's holographic system activated, showing 2 scenarios side by side. On one side, a traditional consortium education pod, where students absorbed pre-approved information in isolation. On the other, a human classroom where students of different ages worked together, teaching and learning from each other. The humans have achieved in decades what took us centuries, Yintel continued, not because their minds are superior, but because they utilize the creative potential of their entire population. They don't just allow innovation, they celebrate it. He projected another image, a human science fair where elderly mentors worked alongside young inventors, where failures were treated as valuable learning experiences rather than shameful mistakes. But the protocols, someone began. The protocols are obsolete, Yintal interrupted. Look at this. He displayed data from his research on Earth. Human children routinely solve problems that our best scientists struggle with, not because they're given advanced training, but because they're never taught to see limits. The chamber erupted again, but this time the tone was different. Representatives from younger worlds began sharing stories of how human educational materials, freely shared over their information networks, had already begun transforming their societies. My world's children have started their own research projects, a representative from a Level 2 civilization reported, her tentacles waving with excitement. They're calling them garage labs like the humans do. The results are remarkable. High Counselor Zix raised her crystalline form, commanding attention. Professor Intel, you've spent the most time studying human society. What are the implications if we adopt their methods? Yintel's scales shifted to scholarly gold. The implications are that we must fundamentally change how we view progress. The humans don't see technology as something to be controlled. They see it as a tool for connection, for creativity, for joy. He displayed more images, quantum-encrypted love letters sent between teenagers, children's toys that taught advanced physics through play, public art installations that doubled as atmospheric purifiers. Their approach isn't just more efficient, Yintel continued. It's more sustainable. By making technology accessible to everyone, they've created a society where innovation comes from everywhere, not just designated research centers. But the risks, Counselor Rem began, are far less than the risk of stagnation, Yintel countered. While we've been carefully controlling technological development, humanity has been experimenting, failing, learning, and growing. They've developed safety protocols that work better than ours precisely because they're built on understanding rather than restriction. He projected one final image, a simple garden on Earth where quantum-enhanced plants grew alongside natural ones, tended by both robots and human children. This is what we could become, a civilization that grows through collaboration rather than control. The debate raged for days, but the revolution had already begun. Across the galaxy, worlds that had accessed human public networks were already transforming. Young people began questioning the rigid structures of consortium education. Underground maker spaces appeared on worlds where technology had been tightly controlled. In her private chamber, High Counselor Zix reviewed the latest reports with growing acceptance. A transmission from Earth caught her attention. A simple message from Dr. Chen. We've noticed the changes beginning across your worlds. Remember, revolutions don't have to be violent. Sometimes they happen one classroom, one idea, one shared discovery at a time. We're here to help whenever you're ready. Zix's crystalline form resonated with something she hadn't felt in centuries. Hope. The humans had done the impossible. They had changed the galaxy not through force or dominance, but through the simple act of sharing knowledge freely and joyfully. Send a response to Earth, she commanded. Tell them we're ready to learn. The partnership. 1 year after the consortium's decision to embrace humanity's approach to knowledge sharing, the Sol system hosted the first Galactic Education Summit. The space station, Unity, orbited Earth, its architecture a stunning blend of consortium crystalline technology and human innovative design. Inside, representatives from thousands of worlds gathered not as hierarchical levels of civilization, but as equals eager to learn from each other. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center of the main amphitheater, now joined by beings from across the galaxy. The audience included not just official representatives, but students, teachers, and innovators from every level of technological development. When we first detected the consortium's observation platforms, she began, we had a choice. We could have hidden our developments, prepared for conflict, or isolated ourselves. Instead, we chose to keep our networks open, our knowledge free, and our hearts ready for friendship. She gestured to a group of children, human and alien alike, who were collaborating on a quantum art project in one corner of the chamber. Their laughter transcended species barriers, their creativity uninhibited by cultural differences. Look around you, she continued. In 1 year, we've seen advancements that neither humanity nor the consortium could have achieved alone. We've learned as much from you as you have from us. Professor Intel, now serving as the head of the new Galactic Institute of Open Innovation, stepped forward. His scales had permanently adopted patterns inspired by human casual wear, a trend that had spread among his people. The statistics are remarkable, he reported, projecting data into the air. Worlds that have adopted combined human consortium educational approaches have seen technological advancement rates increase by 300%. But more importantly, they're reporting higher levels of social satisfaction and cultural harmony. The display showed images from across the galaxy. Traditional consortium teaching pods transformed into interactive learning spaces, human-inspired maker spaces adapted with alien technologies, and new hybrid institutions that combined the best of both approaches. High Counselor Zix, who had become one of the strongest advocates for change, addressed the gathering. We thought we were going to teach humanity how to join galactic society. Instead, they taught us how to transform it. Our protocols sought to control knowledge. Their approach shows us how to help it flourish. A young alien student raised an appendage. But what about the risks? Our elders always taught us that unrestricted knowledge was dangerous. Dr. Chen smiled. That's a wonderful question. And the fact that you're comfortable asking it, that you're here learning alongside beings from across the galaxy, proves how far we've come. Knowledge isn't inherently dangerous. Isolation and fear are. When we share knowledge, we also share responsibility for using it wisely. She projected an image of Earth, now surrounded by a network of learning centers where beings from across the galaxy came to study and teach. We've created something unprecedented. A galactic society where innovation flows freely, where creativity knows no boundaries, and where every being, regardless of origin, has the opportunity to contribute. The station's AI interrupted with an announcement that caused excitement to ripple through the chamber. The first results from the Joint Development Initiative are ready for review. The projection changed to show a breakthrough that embodied the new partnership, a technology that combined consortium crystalline, computing with human quantum harmonics and contributions from a dozen other species. It wasn't just more advanced than anything that had come before. It was fundamentally different, born from the combined creativity of multiple civilizations working in harmony. This, Dr. Chen said proudly, is just the beginning. We've proven that the path to the stars doesn't have to be lonely. It can be a journey we take together, each bringing our own unique perspective, our own way of seeing the universe. As the summit continued, news arrived from across the galaxy of more breakthroughs, more collaborations, more barriers breaking down. The revolution that had begun with humanity's simple choice to share rather than hide had blossomed into a transformation nobody could have predicted. In a quiet moment, Dr. Chen found herself standing with High Counselor Zix, watching the Earth rotate below them. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked. Zix's crystalline form shimmered with amusement. "Never. We spent millennia believing we had to guide younger civilizations carefully, protect them from advancing too quickly. You showed us that the real danger was in holding them back. And you showed us that we didn't have to face the universe alone," Dr. Chen replied. "Together, we're building something greater than either of us could have imagined." As if to emphasize her point, a group of children, human and alien, ran past them, excitedly discussing a new project they'd invented. Their voices blended in shared enthusiasm, unburdened by the artificial barriers that had once divided their peoples. The story of humanity's first contact with galactic civilization wouldn't be remembered for battles won or territories conquered. Instead, it would be celebrated as the moment when the galaxy learned that the greatest revolution of all was the simple act of sharing knowledge, fostering creativity, and believing in the potential of every being to contribute to the grand tapestry of cosmic understanding. And in classrooms across the galaxy, young beings would learn that the power to change the universe didn't come from weapons or control, but from the simple human idea that knowledge grows best when it's shared with an open heart and a spirit of wonder.